Welcome to the podcast about being unmessable with, no matter what life throws at you. Here is your host, Josselyne Herman-Saccio.
Hey there, welcome to Be Unmessable with the podcast. I'm your host, Josselyne Herman-Saccio, and today is my tip of the week, and I want to talk to you about something called perfection paralysis. Now, if you are a perfectionist and you are listening or watching this episode right now, listen up, because a lot of people that, call themselves perfectionists end up paralyzed because they're over analyzing if what they're doing is the right thing. Should they do it a different way? And if you are thinking to yourself, well, yeah, of course, that's my whole life, you're not alone. Okay, so we're going to talk about a liberating methodology to embrace what I call imperfect action. Imperfect action is the cure for perfection paralysis. Now, I don't really go down the road of what's right and what's wrong because it's so subjective. So for me, I don't even think about, well, I want to make sure this is going to be right, or, there's no right thing to do. There's no right move to make. There's no right action or decision. So there's just what you're creating at any given moment. But because people get stuck in this thing called perfection paralysis, trying to get things right before they even execute anything, I wanted to create an episode to support people in freeing themselves from that prison. Having to get things right is a prison, and it is completely not real. There is no right method to do something. There is no right decision. There is no right choice. It's elusive, and it's really, constraining for anybody who actually has a vision that they want to fulfill on. They get stuck in, am I doing it the right way? Am I going to, make the wrong decision? Is this going to be a mistake? So how do you break free from perfection paralysis? The problem is it's kind of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, perfectionism sort of has you strive to produce excellent work. And on the other hand, it can paralyze us, preventing us from taking action and realizing our dreams. So when we wait for the perfect moment or the perfect creation, we often find ourselves in a state of indecision, right? So it's like, is this the right time to call that person? Is this the right time to follow up on that email? The fear of making a mistake or how people are going to judge us really hinders our progress. But it doesn't have to be this way. I've worked with so many people over the last 30 years to empower them to break free from this perfection paralysis. So what is the power of imperfect action? Here we go. First, you got to embrace the idea that there is no singular right way to do something. Now, for some of you, that's blasphemous. I mean, what are you talking about, Josselyne? I am saying there's no such thing as the right way. It's all about perspective. And the moment you can embrace that there is no right way, you can stop looking for the right way, because it's a sucker's game. There's no cheese down that tunnel. You're never going to find the right way, because there is no right way. And it's very liberating to acknowledge that, creation is a journey. It's not a destination. Imperfect actions with quirks and flaws have their own charm and beauty. So a few things to remember. When you notice yourself stuck in that, am I doing it the right way? I don't want to make a mistake. All that whole world of perfection paralysis or an analysis paralysis, action is the cure. So action over perfection is sort of the principle that I want you to, one of the takeaways I want you to have from this episode. So the act of creating is a process of exploration. The more you do, the more you learn, the more you discover. And as you take imperfect actions, those are the stepping stones to actually elevating your performance. If you look at any champion athlete, or even a musician or an artist, when they create something and then there's something that's a flaw in it, they can see it and correct it for the next time. That's your access to the elevation in your performance and your results. So learning from mistakes is another takeaway. Rather than being afraid to make mistakes, mistakes are a very valuable teacher. They help you refine your craft. I have a friend who is a master piano player, and she's a teacher. And she said, you can't expect that you're not going to make mistakes. You have to look at your mistakes as the access as what there is to practice. So that helps you refine your craft, discover new possibilities, and really grow in any area that you're engaged with. Connection and authenticity is one of the other takeaways. So perfection is intimidating, whereas something imperfect can be relatable and human. So if you're looking so good and there's no flaws, people can't relate to it. So imperfection is a great way to connect and be authentic with people, help you connect with your audience, with your family, with your colleagues on a deeper level, rather than to have it all together and make yourself look like, you do no wrong and you're so perfect and all of that. That's very constraining for not only you, but for them. Now, progress over perfection is another principle in this whole world of breaking up the perfection paralysis. Remember that progress is the game, not producing some perfect thing. Waiting for perfection can lead to stagnation. I can't tell you how many times I've coached a founder or CEO or an executive or just anybody in their life, and they're like, well, I'm waiting for like the perfect version of my book proposal. What do you mean the perfect version? There's no such thing. Or the perfect social media post. I mean, can you imagine if people were like crafting the perfect post? They would never post. And that's what ends up happening. So progress over perfection, taking imperfect actions, move you forward. And ultimately, one of the biggest takeaways is to learn to develop the muscle of trusting yourself. Trust yourself. You are not your results. They are something you're producing. I mean, Michael Jordan is not, maybe I'm dating myself. Okay. Steph Curry is not the game. The game is a result that he produced. If he could never miss a shot, he'd never take a shot. So that's kind of the biggest takeaway is trust yourself. Sometimes you're going to hit, sometimes you're going to miss, just like Steph Curry, or just like, I like Michael Jordan. So there you go. I'll stick with Michael Jordan. He's missed more shots than he's made. Can you imagine if you were just waiting for the perfect shot every time? There'd be no game. So trust yourself, celebrate your imperfect actions, the zigzags, the chaotic journey to creation, and just embrace it and allow yourself to learn from the things that fall short and rise to the next level of the game. Perfection is an illusion. It's a mirage designed to keep you in place. But actions and courage to create are the real juice in this case. They're the real cheese. That's where the tunnel has cheese. No tunnel, no cheese down the tunnel of perfection. All the cheese is down the road of imperfect action. So don't let the fear of getting it right hold you back. Instead, let the joy of creation propel you forward, one imperfect action at a time. If you got value out of this episode, please rate and review it. Most of all, share it with anybody that you think would actually get value out of this whole methodology and break out of their own perfection See, there you go. I'm not going to edit that out on purpose. It's perfect. I couldn't have even written that in better. So make sure that you share it with anybody who's got perfection paralysis so you can make a difference with them. See you on the next episode of Be Unmessable With, the podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Be Unmessable With, the podcast. And I never take for granted that you've spent a little time with us today, and I want to make sure that you get value every time you do. So in that spirit, I want to offer you my free Transcending Imposter Syndrome workbook. And this is, if anything around imposter syndrome messes with you, this is a way to disappear that whole thing so you can emerge unmessable with. I also look forward to hearing from you, any feedback and any ideas for future episodes that would support you in your unmessable with journey. Thanks again, and see you next time.